Hi, Joe here at Woolly Cottage 2023, and the first of my videos for the new year. So, what's my plans? Okay, so if you watched my video, my live chat on Saturday on Instagram, I mentioned that I have a few ideas for this year. One of them will be a running theme that I will do throughout the year on my YouTube channel for videos as an experiment, really. And there will be the plans will come out and divulge through the rest of the year, and you can find out what it is that I've been looking into and hopefully potentially getting sorted and ready to get to launch. So I thought, well, it was more to do with the fact I had an email last week for a custom order, and there's a lady that was new to spinning. And she does have a flock of her own hobby sheep, and she just wanted to try a different type of breed just to get the idea of what it feels like for spinning different, something very similar. She's got clun sheep, clun forest sheep, so she wanted to try something that'd be very similar in texture, in staple length, and in softness as well, and the micron count. And she says it's so much to go through. She goes, I'm at a loss. It's going to take me ages to understand the terminology and everything. And I totally get it. I was there once. We've all been there. Guys that have been doing this for years. If you're on any spinning groups on Facebook or hashtag on Instagram, different groups, or even on a chat group on Twitter, they have a couple of groups on there as well. People help you out and give you a bit of advice. But then you've got your reference books. Now, when you're first starting out, you're watching all the YouTube videos, or you're sitting in the background following a group just to see what people are doing, and it can feel a little bit overwhelming. Don't worry. It's not. A lot of the knowledge you don't need to have straight off. Unless you want to really proper geek out from beginning to end, then you can do. You have your ones that are in guilds, and in some guild groups they're very, very traditional. They like to stick, if they're spinning, they like to stick with just one breed of wool, of sheep's breed, and stick with that and spin that until it's all done. They won't blend it with anything. They're not really keen on dyeing it. If they do, they might get one of their friends that's quite happy to go and dye stuff. But you'll find in some of these groups that they're very traditional. Then you get some people like myself that like to experiment and push the boundaries a little bit. Now, there are fibres that you could put, and I'll get into more depth and detail about this as we go along, but there are fibres that you can put together that will react differently when they're spun, or if they're knitted or woven or whatever. But you learn with time. Don't expect to find out all the information yourself. What one blend works for one person might not necessarily work or suit another person. It's all about your needs and what you want from something, really, at the end of the day. Do you want pops of shine in there? Do you want pops of luxury yarns popping like in there with the wool or fibres? Do you want plant-based fibres and you want a blended cotton with it so that you can have a vegan jumper or a vegetarian jumper? Those sort of things, but they come in time. All I want you to do, and it's always my mantra and everybody knows, I just want you to go off, learn something new, do not put pressure on yourself, and just take it easy, okay? It will come to you. You might find that one spinning wheel doesn't quite work for you, but you find another spinning wheel that you just absolutely love, and this is what we're going to get into. So what I thought I would do this year for 2023 was do a series of videos called Back to Basics. And I know a lot of my followers on here, you all know it, I know it all, but I do have people that come on who are just doing their investigations now. They're watching what other people are doing and the knowledge that they can get for it, and help them learn. So I thought, Back to Basics part 1 today, and what I'm going to talk about is where to start. Okay, so I'm going to cover topics of different instruments or equipment that you can spin on, and I'm going to drop a couple of names of businesses where you can go and buy your supplies from, which I know in America, Canada, you can use certain ones that I've managed to find, and different brands that you can more or less only get over in America, unless somebody's managed to get one over here in the UK, but then they've paid for the customs and everything else to get through, because there are a few people that have these other brands. I would talk about the different types of spindles that you can get, and we'll get into drop spindling or spindling or anything else as my chapters go on. I just want this to be an easy progress into learning something new and be able to take the information in without me overwhelming you. And each time I do a video, it'll be a different subject to do with this topic. Okay, don't worry, I'll still be doing my blending videos. I will drop one in once a month or something like that, or roll like videos, that sort of thing. But I thought it was just really important. The new year, a lot of people have managed luckily to get Turkish spindles or a drop spindle or a support spindle for their Christmas. They've never used one before, they've been gifted one, and they'd really like to know how to do it. Or in some cases, people have had spinning wheels and managed to get themselves a second-hand spinning wheel, which is always a really great place to start, because then you're not paying out a lot of money. But I am going to give you some information on that. I have got my Freya, which is my Kromsky wheel, and it's a double treadle wheel, and I have got my Prelude Morgana, who's a single treadle. So I'll talk a little bit about that as well. There's not a lot of information to go with why you have a single or a treadle. It's just about the design, okay? Some people just prefer one or the other, or both. I can spin on both of them. But I'll tell you what my pros and cons are on on both of these, and then I'll go in through the information of all the parts on the spinning wheel, and I'll use Morgana for that because she's a traditional looking spinning wheel. She's actually a modern version of a Saxony wheel, and she's my favourite. She's my little workhorse. So I'll go through all the parts and the names of them and what they do as we go along, and then anything else that I think is important. And then at the very end, I will go through the little bits of equipment and accessories that you can either make yourself or buy, that will help you to be able to get into packing away your yarn once you've spun it up. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure through my lists, everything else, yep, that's it. And then as I say, the videos go on, then I'll get a little bit more technical. I'll probably learn a couple of things myself along the line, or at least drum it into my head, because there's certain things that I'm like, why do I need to know that? Am I ever going to use that? It's like percentages at school. I am ever going to need to know about percentages and fractions, and yeah, I did. So sometimes you might find another craft later on down the line, you're like, oh, I wish I'd listened to Joe. I'll have to go and look up that video now. Anyway, so first of all, back to basics, part one, your equipment for beginning spinning. So personally myself, I always advise people, if you can get a hold of a drop spindle for a friend, or make yourself one. There are videos online and on YouTube where you can make them out of CD discs, an old CD disc and a piece of doweling, and you can get going like that. Okay, cut yourself a little notch in the top of the shaft of the doweling, that's what it's called, and then you can hook your yarn around that, or the beginner's U fibre, and spin from that. It will spin like a little dream. Okay, that's great for you just to see whether you think you've got the competence to be able to do it, which you will do. It just takes a bit of patience and a bit of practice, and then practice for 10 minutes every day until you build up your confidence on it, is my advice. Okay, so this was the first ever drop spindle. It was just a bog standard spindle from World of Wool. I bought it as a little kit when I first started about 6-7 years ago, and it only cost me about £7. It is I think I weighed it on a live chat not long ago, and I think it's a 50 gram weight spindle. It's got a really good weight to it. I love it, and I only used it for about a month and a bit before I end up getting a wheel. So this part here is called your whirl, okay, WHORL, and I'll pop up these little words at the side just for your own information if you feel you need it. And then this part here is called your shaft, and then there's your hook. And if you ever buy one, I advise just get a Stanley knife or something like that and just score yourself a little groove in the side. It helps so much when you're first starting. Okay, a little groove, and then there's a little triangle cut in the bottom, and it just helps this yarn sit in there, and I find it helps so much when you first get your yarn started, when you're spinning to get to drafting. Okay, but we'll go through all those bits anyway. And this piece here is a leader yarn, so I attach the fine twist off my rowlag, or off my bit of bat, or off my braid of roving, and I add it into this little cord of wool, in there, and I still use it like this, okay? So you put it into there, and then I thread it up, and then I spin it and spin it and spin it until it starts getting the energy, but we'll go into that anyway. So the different types of spindles you can get. Drop spindles, okay? You can get them in different weights. You can get really light ones, you can get heavy ones, you can get them up to 80 grams, which is really, really great if you want to do really thick yarn. Personally, I prefer, I think because I started off with a mid-range weight anyway, I think having a mid-range weight on a drop spindle or any type of spindle when you first get started, because it's got the pull for you, it'll help you bring that energy in to create the draft that you need for making the yarn. If you've got a really lightweight one like this one, this is only, I think it's a 33 gram, is it 33? Or it might be 26. But that is a piece of jasper on the top of it. It's got like a chopstick shaft on there and a little brass hook. It's light as a feather, but this is the difference with the weights. Can you see how fine that yarn is? It's like thread, okay? Really, really, really fine. And that's what happens. So, as I said, if you get an 80, really, really quick, if you get an 80 gram drop spindle, which you can get, as I say, from World of Wool, you can get just plain, they're just plain standard pieces of wood, and you can zhuzh them up and paint them and do whatever you want to it to make it a little bit more you, like what I did with mine. I just had some bits of black paint lying around and some metallic and paint and a little stencil that I had, and you can create it to make it look like it's yours, if you, I mean, your own character. And the heavier the, right, so what I'm trying to explain is the heavier the weight of the spindle, the thicker potentially your yarn's going to be. That's not to say that you can't get a very thin yarn off of it, but it's nicer and has a longer shaft that you can actually do art yarn spinning on it, or spinning locks and that sort of thing, okay? The lighter the spindle, the thinner your yarn's going to be, because it has so much more energy in it. You've got it's got a completely different feel to it, and you naturally want to spin thin anyway, and it just holds it really, really nicely. So the lighter the spindle, the thinner potential you'll get on your yarn, okay? So once this plies up, I would say when it plies up, this is going to have about, there we go, let me just put that on my hand there. That's it when it doubles back on itself. But we'll go into all of that at a later date, and that roughly is about a 4 ply to sports weight once it's all spun up properly, plied up against itself, which is another terminology that you will get used to. But you've obviously come into this hobby not completely blind, because you've got a rough idea what it is that you need to do, and you do have an idea of what the terminologies are. Other type of spindles you can get, Turkish spindles. These are brilliant little bits of kit that you can take away, shove it in your handbag, stick a couple of Rolags in your bag, and there we go. And this one is from a lady, I bought it on Tina Floyd, I think it is, on Etsy, British lady. I always try and buy from British producers, so I can support my fellow craftsmen in my country, and the other reason is because I begrudge paying customs. I begrudge paying customs any money. I don't like it. It's ridiculous. So yeah, this is a really great bit of kit, and in the next couple of videos when we get onto spinning, I will be showing you how to spin all these spindles that I have got in my collection, in case this is what you've got. So I will go through a little library of it. This one here is a bogway spinner. I haven't attempted this one, so this will be new for me, so we might have a bit of a laugh. But this is from a lass that's, I think she's based in Yorkshire. You can find her at the Yorkshire Wool shows anyway, and she's just took over this brand of bogway spinners from a couple of gentlemen that used to do it. I haven't figured it out yet. So this is one. This is actually a very, very, very old replica of a Mayan spindles. So yeah, this is going into the historical side of it, and they've been found in excavation sites from about 4,000 years ago. So yeah, that's one that we've got to try. There are other spindles that I want to try, so I've got them in my collection so I can have a sample of everything. But this one was gifted to me, and this is a bit of fun. This is actually designed so you can actually do art yarn spinning on it, and it comes with its own little lazy Kate. You have these bobbins on the bottom of them, so it comes with 3 bobbins. It's really, really cute. And it comes with its own little lazy Kate with the spindles that you can sit on it. So you just literally, and it's really, really heavy. I think it's about 100-gram weight, so that is art yarn material. It's going to have such a weight on it that I won't have enough time to spin and get the energy up there. I could give it a really good go, and it will go some, but it'll be more of a chunkier yarn. Think of it with your knitting needles and your crochet hooks. The larger the hook, the larger the needle, the chunkier the yarn's going to be. It's that sort of same comparison, okay? So yeah, there's this one. Very, very fun. Still not had a go in it, and that's what I'll probably sit and have a chat with you about and let you know where my friend bought this for me for my Christmas a couple of years ago. But there's also support spindles I haven't tried. I've never tried a support spindle. I've never been able to get a hold of anyone in the UK that does kick spindles. What else is there? There's the Tibetan spindles, which are very, very light and probably brilliant for spinning silk and things like that on there. You've got the Russian spindles, which are slightly different. What else have I got? The bottom whirl spindle. So you'll get a spindle exactly like a drop spindle, but it's upside down, and the hook, some don't even have hooks in them, they just have a notch taken out the side of it, and you can spin it as you go along, which is very similar to what a support spindle looks like, but they don't have this big whirl. They usually have some sort of jewel on it. Some companies, especially in America, there's one, I can't remember her name now. See if I can find it, and if I can find the name of it I will drop it in the descriptions. But she does these ones with glass jewels at the bottom of them. There's a lady in Britain that does them. I've seen them with acorns at the bottom of them, and it's literally just that, the same theme or style as a Russian spindle. So the weight's at the bottom of it, and you spin from there, and it'll just do what it needs to do. So yeah, so that is spindles. There's loads of different ones out there. You can go budget friendly for about £8, and some people you could end up spending anything up to 50 quid, depending on what you're getting. But as I say, for a DK weight up to an art yarn or an Aran weight, I would go anywhere from the 45 grams to 100 grams. In your looking for a yarn to use to spin. If you're looking for finer yarns and you want to do lace weight, sports weight, fingering weight, and then the smaller side of the DK sort of style, depending, until you get used to it, you'll always end up with a feeling that you're only spinning DK weight, not double knit weight. So yeah, you want to go from anywhere from 40 down, okay? And you can get some spindles that weigh like 12 grams. I've been printing off 3D printed Turkish spindles, and they spin like a dream, and I'll be putting them in my web shop at some point, hopefully the end of this month. If not, it'll be next month before I get them on the shop, because I need to get some dowlings for the shaft and get them all sorted out and done and ready. So yeah, and they spin so fast, so quick, it's absolutely gorgeous. So that's the gone through with the spindles, okay? Okay, so next, spinning wheels. Okay, so this is a bit, some of people start off with spinning wheels, they never tried a drop spindle or any type of spindle at all. They're quite happy they managed to get someone they know maybe, or they've managed to get to a guild and they've had a try of a spinning wheel and they loved it and they've gone off flying. Some people can't take to it straight away, it just takes a bit of trial and error. Okay. So the brand that I have got is a Cromskate, and price range, she's the bottom of the range, but it's budget friendly. My first wheel only cost me, I think it was about 100 and, God, you know, it's been that long ago now, I think it was about £160, and then I bought the art yarn flyer and bobbin and the bat whirl as well, and that cost me an extra £100. But it came with 3 jumbo bobbins, it came with the jumbo flyer and the flyer whirl at the back of it as well, which is where my drive band goes, but we'll get into that in a minute. So you can get different types of spinning wheels from Cromskate. I have a Fantasia and I have the Prelude there. She's quite a new model, the Prelude. I bought that 4 years ago now. but she was a new range that came out when I bought her. She's only been out for about 6 months to a year or something like that. But you've got the Santana, trying to think of a couple of other ones, Fantasia the Prelude, the Santana, and I think there's 2 other ones as well, but one's not being made anymore, it's been taken out of production. And the flyer for my Prelude they don't make anymore, so I have to buy the extra bits. I'm not going to go into the terminology because we'll get there in a minute, but I need to buy the extra bits for it if I want to do a finer yarn on her, or I want to spin faster, so I have to buy that. And I can also buy the jumbo bobbin and flyer sections and everything else I need to do that for doing art yarn spinning on her, but that's from the Santana range, which it costs roughly about another, I think it's 120 quid or something like that. Okay, so you've got the Kromsky, and I always call them the budget friendly range because I've never come across any other spinning wheel company brands that are cheaper than Kromsky. You've got the Ashford, which come from New Zealand, if I remember rightly. That's a mid-range. It does start off roughly about, maybe about 300 and something, middle between 300 to 400 pounds, and then it goes up, and I think the most expensive one's about 600 and something. They do loads of different types. They do ones that fold down so you can travel with it, which are perfect. They were a little bit out of my price range, and everybody had them. And if anyone knows me, I don't like having what everyone else has got. I like to I march to the drum of my own beat. So, but there's a lot of people that I know that have both the Kromsky and the Ashfords. And when you start falling down the rabbit hole, believe me, you'll end up with more than one, okay? But I would advise you, if you can afford it, go for a different brand from what you've got already. And you'll end up finding that one brand sort of feels more comfortable to use than the one that you bought originally, because Freya, my Fantasia, was the first wheel that I bought, and then when I got Morgana, my little Prelude, I hardly ever go on my Fantasia now. I only use it for art yarn spinning because I just find it too fast. I prefer my little one, and I'm really happy with her. She's my little go-to, and she sits down the side of my chair downstairs, and I wouldn't trade her for anything. Okay, so the next range brand that you can get in spinning wheels is from a company called Loute. I think it's Loute, and they're a mid to high range. Now, some of their spinning wheels start off at the back end of 600 to 700 pounds and upwards. I think the most expensive one of the Loute range is around about 900 pounds, but they're beautiful. They are proper handcrafted wheels. Then you've got your Schat spinning wheels, which are SCHACHT, okay, Schat, or Sacked, whatever, pronounce it for which you want, but I lived in Germany for years and I would have called that Schat. So they've got gorgeous looms, and again they're a mid to high range price bracket. You are looking anywhere between £700 to nearly £1,000 for one of theirs. Babe Fibres, I've looked up some of those ones. I actually did a Google search, and you can, they look like they're made of metal, like a bicycle type thing. I've seen them very rarely come up for sale online, but on eBay, but I don't use eBay. And now and again you'll see something pop up on any of the Facebook groups, where you might be able to get one, and they're not expensive, to be fair. I think they were sort of created around about the late 70s, early 80s or something like that, but that's a history that you can go looking for yourself. Just do a Google search and go up and look for them. That's BABE Fibre, okay? And then you can actually buy 3D printed spinning wheels. You can buy the actual plans and the STLs to print up, if you've got a large 3D printer, to print off the wheels and the flyers and the flyer arms and all the bits and accessories, and all you have to do is create a wooden bracket for the treadles to sit on and for everything to sit on at the back of it. Why not? If you've got somebody that's got a gigantic big 3D printer, go and ask them if they can help you out to get that sorted out. And then you've got your little electric wheels. You bear with me a second. Okay, so then you've got your little budget friendly oh, this one wasn't budget friendly, put it that way. It's the same price as my spinning wheels. Right, so this is actually an EEW 6.0, and it is an electric wheel. It comes with a compartment in the bottom where you can put a battery in it. You can get smaller versions of these. This one costs, I think, if I remember rightly, about anywhere between $240 and $260. Phil bought it for me as a treat last year, because when I'm doing these videos, I need to have, I don't need to have anything, but it's nice to be able to say, I've got one of those, I've had a play with it, this is what I think of it, and whatever. Or if anybody says to me, oh, can you do a video using these? And I'm like, yep, no problem, I can do it. Now you can get smaller ones of these. They've got the, I think it's the 0.2 that's just come out, and in them he's actually put the USB charger inside with a connector. You can just charge it straight in for if you're out and about. This one doesn't have that. I've literally got to put a battery in there, you know, the USB battery ports that you use for when you're going out and about and you need to charge up your phone. One of those, I can stick one of those in the bottom there, and there's some way to connect it up inside. Don't ask me how, I've never tried, but one day I might. And I think it's an extra cable that I need to get to charge it through, to mix it up and all the rest of it, so all that doofy-doo stuff. So yeah, so you have that as an alternative. The smaller models, you can get the eel, and that's a 1.0, and they're about 100 quid. And the new one, the new design that is just brought out, which is a smaller version of these, because this is the big one, and the spinning wheel could take, the bobbin can easily take 100 grams plus on there, which I think is brilliant, just perfect. And I have now started actually printing the clips for the 6 as well, and I will be making the bobbins to go with them as well. For the spare wheels, I've just printed off a load of the tension bobbins and the orifice reducers to sell as kits for the Nano 2 and for the 6. Anyway, I'll get my little plug in there, shall I? So yeah, so they're great for a very beginner's kit. If you've got really limited money, you want to start on a wheel first, you don't want to go down the spindle route. So I actually looked up companies that sell these things. Okay, now the electric wheel is by a company called Dreaming Robots. Okay, you'll find him on Instagram, and you'll find them on Facebook, and you can find them online. Companies that sell them in the UK, there's only one that I know of, and that's the Threshing Barn. Get in touch with them. They've just had a massive batch in and back orders that they had to get sent out a little while ago, but you will be able to get in touch with them if they haven't got any in stock. She does have a couple of different models of them. If you can't get them in stock, just reach out to her and she'll put you on a list, and then Bob's your auntie, you'll have your wheel in a couple of months' time. But at the moment, we've got Royal Mail have had a cyber attack, so there's no post coming into the UK or getting out of the UK at this current time. But if you're on a waiting list, it'll be sorted out by then. So anyway, who else have we got? Oh, there was some other companies or brands as well. You've got the Lendrum, which the Lendrum wheel I have been told is really, really good if you've got back issues or mobility issues, because, and it's one that I really want to try. I really want to try to see if it actually works, because my fibro, my back does get really, really sore and achy when I'm spinning. I have to sit in a specific way, sit my back straight up, and oh, do you know, sometimes it'd be easy if I could just get it, and it actually sits forward and it sits between your legs, and there's treadles either side of the actual part that comes with the flyer on. It sits more or less on your lap, like within reason. You can sit it practically on your lap, and your legs can sit at a nice comfortable position, and you just treadle underneath yourself like that. And yeah, so anyway, the Lendrum, but they are like, you're getting into Rolls Royce territory here, okay? And then you've got the Matchless and a Magicraft. Now there's Spinolution and Paradise Fibers and Yarn Concept. Okay, they're other brands that you can get in America. Spinolution, we can get them here, but I'm not quite sure. They would end up having to be imported in. Spin City, give them a heads up in the UK. She may be able to get them in. I've not been able to find any companies in the UK that sell the Paradise Fibres spinning wheel, their own brand. You have to get in touch with them, which is perfect for America or Canada. Yarn Concept Spinner as well, that's one that Paradise Fibres sells, and Spinolution. So if you just do a Google search for all these names, I will put them in my descriptions in the box, okay, all these names, just in case you want from your own reference. But those ones you could definitely get overseas, in America and Canada. Kromsky, the main Kromsky shop is in Canada, and you can find them online as well. There's a Kromsky supplier, one of the main suppliers overseas. Go to that, go and give it a Google, you'll find the Kromsky supplier. They've actually got a YouTube channel as well, where they show how to put these things together when they come out the boxes. So definitely go and give them a look up. Joe, you're supposed to be doing it for yourself. Anyway, Weft Blown in the UK, they do the Shacked, the Louis, the Ashford, and I think they do the Kromsky wheels as well. Wing and Wool do Ashford, and they do the Kromsky, which is where I bought my looms from, my spinning wheels. Threshing Barn, they do the Dreaming Robots, the electric mini little wheels. You can buy electric wheels for the Ashford, and there's another company as well that do an electric wheel, but I can't remember the name off the top of my head. So you can buy them as big wooden ones, really nice. You're looking about 400 and something or other, a little bit more than that for that sort of electric wheel. Massively more expensive than these budget friendly ones, okay. Threshing Barn do a variety of brand name wheels as well as the electric wheel. Wing and Wool do Ashford, as I say, and Kromsky, and what else do they do? I think that's about it on their limit. And George Well as well, he does a variety of different spinning wheels on his website. So as I say, I'll leave these names in the descriptions and you can go and find them yourself, okay. I can only do so much. You need to go and look it up yourself and go and do a bit of research, go and see what it is that you like, see if you can find a guild that you can reach out to, and see if you can go and test drive. I know at Wing and Wool you can go and test drive a wheel there as well. Threshing Barn you can go up to, she's just on the Pennines, you can go and do a visit with them, and she'll, if you phone her up and make an arrangement to go up and see her as well. Weft Blown, she's just about to shut down her shop but work from her own studio at home, but she is taking appointments, but I think it's more teaching, and she's up in East Kilbride. Lovely lady, still in business, just the bricks and mortar side of things are going because she wants to do more stuff for herself, and it just seemed easier to have her studio in her back garden in the big summer house, so that's where she's going. At Wing and Wool you can turn up more or less anytime, just give them a ring or drop them an email and see when you can turn up, because there might still be some restrictions, but you can go and test pilot their wheels while you're there, because they've got a load of them out the back of the shop where you can go and have a go. Okay, so there we go. Spin City's another one as well. Who else? There's a couple in my head and I can't quite get it out of my tongue. There's a couple in Scotland, but if I go and do the search later on, I will drop them in the descriptions when this video goes up, so you can go and find them if you're in Scotland. Another place to look is Facebook Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace is a really good resource to look for spinning wheels. Some people will ask for you to come and collect. You can get older spinning wheels like Haldanes and flax spinning wheels. Some of them are just for ornamental use. I have a flax spinner downstairs called a Little Capitan, and it's actually a little Dutch spinner, and it's mainly for flax. I have tried to refurbish her, but Doc broke the flyer on it the other week then. I was moving the Christmas tree. Oh, and I just fixed it as well, and I can't quite get the drive band to go, but the next time I do one of these spinning videos, I'll bring her up the stairs, a little forget-me-not, and you can have a look at her. But as I say, I've not been able to get her going yet. I've managed to fix the flyer arm and bobbins as well, and we'll talk about that, because there's actually a woods craftsman down in Wales where you can get bobbins. He can make them. He can make bobbins for all types of spinning wheels, whether you can get hold of them or not, or if your spinning wheel's 100 years old but it still works and you need new bobbins. Honestly, this person is brilliant. You just give him the measurements, send him a photo, and he'll go off and make what it is that you need. Okay, so next part I'm going to quickly go through all the parts of the spinning wheel. Okay, hold on to your knickers, girls. Okay, so the wheels here, we have got my Kromsky Fantasia, and it's a double treadle wheel. Okay, you've got, here we go, 2 treadles either side. Okay, and then you have, which I find, if you don't concentrate, you end up going really, 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 really fast, like you're in the middle of a sprint. But she's a brilliant wheel. She's really, really sturdy. She's very fashionable. Okay, and then you have got my Kromsky Prelude, which is a modern version of a medieval Saxony spinning wheel, and she's a single treadle, and you can see that I use her a lot because the white oak staining has disappeared off the foot treadle. Okay, so what do we have first? Let me just grab my notes so I know where I'm at. Not that I don't know it, I do know it, but it's just to remind myself. Okay, so we have got the flywheel. Right, so this bit here, this section here, okay, is called the flywheel. And this part, the wheel that rotates when treadling and causes the various parts to operate. So it's the brains of the machine, okay, not you and your foot, but that is the bit that works those pieces there. Okay, so before I go any further, I will let you know that my spinning wheels, both of them are single drive bands. So you see the elastic band there and the elastic band there. That is just a single band. You get some that are double drive bands, which are generally older wheels, but you can get them on some new ones. Okay, so the drive band here, which goes all the way around the wheel, okay, it comes back up here and then goes around there. That's either used by a cord or a piece of plastic that goes around the flywheel and the flyer whirl, which is what this piece is here, okay, the flyer whirl. Right, so the flyer, one second, we will just have a look at her there. This piece here, which is one solid piece, and I can take it off if I want to, but you get the gist. It's one piece and it starts from here and it goes all the way to the end of there. Okay, and I'll take it off so you can have a look. Oh, sorry for my state, my basket of wool in the background there. So we'll just take this off and you can have a proper look. It's been a while since she's been off, so she might be a bit stuck. There we go. She doesn't like to come out that often. Oh, there we go. Okay, so this full section all the way up to here, without that, is a flyer. Okay, a flyer arm or a flyer, and you get different types. You get fast flyers, standard flyers, the jumbo flyers for doing art yarns and that sort of thing on them. Okay, so you've got these whirls, and these act as speed variations. Really, you can adjust them. So if you look there, one is a bit wider than the front one. I tend to use this one more than anything because it's just the right speed for me. These ones here, I end up with a really, really fine yarn and it spins really, really quickly. Okay, right, so you can see all those hooks on there. Okay, so those are the pieces that will guide your yarn when you're spinning it. It's a U-shaped piece of wood or plastic, depending whether you use an electric wheel or if you've got 3D printed ones, with hooks lined up along one or both arms. The hooks are used to store the yarn evenly on the bobbin, and the flyer is rotated by the drive band, which is, as a result, puts the twist into the fibre. Okay, so on mine, as we've seen, I have hooks on both sides. Okay, and this piece here is called your leader yarn, and I will show you how to stick one of those on at a later date. So it literally goes over those hooks and then it comes through this little hole down here, and you use a hook which takes you through the front here. Okay, so the flyer whirl here, okay, is a pulley attached to the flyer and operated by the drive band. The different size grooves on the flyer wheel determines how fast the wheel will spin, and that in turn will determine how thin your yarn's going to be in some cases as well. As I say, you can get a fast flyer which goes really, really fast. Okay, so I forgot to put my drive band back on there. So that literally hangs over there, and then it goes over my wheel all the way over here. Okay, so we'll put that back on later on. Anyway, so you've got the maiden that holds the flyer to the bobbins. Okay, so let me just grab this. Okay, so this arm here and the other one on the other side are called the maidens, and they hold the flyer and parts together. Okay, and then that does that job. Then you have the mother of all, which usually comes with a tensioner, so it actually acts like a lever. So sometimes you want a bit more tension going in there, or a bit more distance between, and I've got mine set at a perfect height, but it adjusts the height. So these arms would come forward. If I twisted it back on itself and twisting it out, it comes this way. It does different things. Not all of them have got this set have a mother of all. This doesn't have a mother of all. It literally has just the flyer, and this acts like a mother of all and the maidens together because it's holding the whirl there. It's at the back, which I could take this off and adjust it to a smaller one, but that's my jumbo whirl. And then my flyer, my bobbin sits there, and my flyer sits on this end, and it's got like a magnetic system in here. Okay, and then the drive band sits up the top there and moves my wheel. So you have the mother of all, this bit here. Okay, and she's attached to the actual main carcass of my spinning wheel, and she has that tension knob there. Okay, the bar that mounts the maidens and the flyer and the bobbins and the tension to the actual spinning stand. So the tension knob used to adjust the tension of the drive band by lowering or raising the mother of all, which is what this piece is. Okay, so it can make this feel really, really tight, which can have, if you do it too tight, it makes it feel like it's dragging on the wheel. If you loosen off a little bit, it feels like the wheel's going to flow a little bit more and easier to spin with. You can feel it in your foot when you're actually spinning, to be able to get it, just about tweaking it and getting the tension exactly how you want it. Okay, so you've got the bobbin rotates on the spindle, which is that metal shaft that I showed you inside the flyer. Okay, it rotates the spindle with the flyer and stores the yarn and can operate with or independently of the drive band. So there you go. So that's it really. That's all you can really say about that. There's not much else to it. It's just your bobbin. It's the piece of kit that you need to store your wool on. The treadles. So these pieces here, excuse my slippers, they are sheepskin, I'm allowed. Pedals, that is what operates the wheel using your feet. So it literally just bounces up and down, and you get a nice even speed on your feet, and that wheel will spin a dream. If you do it on this one, and if you're not careful, before you know it, you feel like you're doing a marathon, and the wheel really goes fast and fast and fast and fast. No matter how much you adjust your tension, it still keeps going faster and faster until you remember, Joe, you're not running, you're spinning. So yeah, you will end up feeling like you're either really drafting out really, really quickly, or it just gets yanked out your hand. So what else have we got? We've got the footman that connects the treadle to the flywheel and causes it to turn. So bear with me a second and we'll just go around the back. So this piece here, okay, hooks to the back of my wheel, and it's hooked to, see, my treadle. Okay, and it's put together with a piece of leather thong, which if you ever have to replace it, is easy enough to get some. Just go onto Amazon or to a craft shop or wherever and just get a piece of leather thong and then thread that through, and that is what helps you treadle. Okay, easy peasy, and a nice gentle flow will make that work like a dream. Now on the Kromsky, you have these tiny little plastic bits that sit inside, and they move. Oh, my mother of all's falling. Joe, you're a calamity woman. So there we go. That is your footman on a treadle. And they run adjacent to each other in a weird fashion, but it works. There we go. Very easy. Bit of advice when you're using a double treadle spinning wheel. If you feel like it's clunking, which sometimes it does, adjust your feet. It is so much common to put your foot all the way across the top of that. And my bit of advice is just to bring your foot back a little bit so you're using more of your main foot and not your heel. And it'll actually help slow down your spinning as well. Okay, what else have we got next? We have the orifice. Now you will find on your journey of wheel spinning that there is some weird names, and sometimes slightly tongue-in-cheek names as well. That you're like, oh, that just sounds so wrong. But yes, your orifice. So we'll pull the fray around. Okay, so this piece up here, all right. Oh, it's gone again. This piece here, it's called your orifice. And your yarn goes through here, and then it threads through, where are we at? Here, and comes up and over the top of your hooks so you can spin your yarn. And what you usually do is usually your spinning wheel comes with its own orifice hook, and you would thread it through, oh, wrong way, through here, into the back. Where's your yarn? Get your yarn. A minute. Right, try again, Joe. Through there, you've got your leader yarn on the back, hook that through, and then without catching your drive band, that comes out through your orifice hook hole, and then you can start spinning. Okay, easy enough, done. There you go, that's that. And I always hang mine off my tension, the Scotch tension knob there, and that's that. So as I've already mentioned before, you always need to add on a leader yarn onto your wheel, onto your bobbin, right? On every bobbin I have this leader yarn, and it's literally just a full length, quite a long length, maybe about a yard. Yeah, about a yard length, and then I'll double it over and tie a knot in it, and then I'll hoop it around the bobbin to create a knot, and then that goes through there, what I've just demonstrated, and then comes through here. And then when I go to start spinning, I'll put a tiny section of my fibre into there, and then as the speed starts to build up in the actual flyer and turning the bobbin and everything starts working, you'll start feeling that pull in, and your yarn will go with it, and you'll start to see fibres twisting, and it will just work its way across into there. Easy enough. Okay, so as I've said already, you get your single treadles and your double treadles. It all depends. If you have the opportunity to go and try one, go and try one. Okay, and you get your fast flyers, your standard flyers, and your jumbo flyers. All can do different types of spinning yarns. Some the fast flyer usually does lace weight. Your standard yarn can do anything from a 4-ply to a chunky, a chunky single maybe. You won't get a chunky ply on it really, not brilliantly anyway. And then your jumbo one, which is this one, and this one comes, see, because this is the orifice for this flyer, and this one you can stick all sorts of yarns on there, whether it's lock yarns, art yarns with ribbons or bells or lights or whatever it is that you want to do, and that's what that does. And my flyers on these, some flyers have the hooks that are actually adjustable and move. This one does on this one, whereas the other one has the standard metal hooks. Okay, what's next? Tension, Scotch tension, right? So there's a bit of a difference between different ones. I have a Scotch tension, and this tension here, you can see this string, and it comes all the way up the back through the hooks, comes up the back of my bobbin onto its back end of its whirl where it's sat on its armrest. These are leather, okay, and then it comes all the way back down. Where are we at? Here we go, into this spring tension here. Now you will have to replace them every couple of years, but you can buy them from the same supplier that you got your wheel from, and you literally just pull this tension until you get the right tension and you can feel it spinning on there. Have it too tight and your yarn will just yank out your hand and you'll not be able to keep up with it. You want to get to a nice steady tension where you feel comfortable when you're drafting your fibres out to spin with, okay? So I'm just going to read my notes here just to make sure I've got it all right. So the Scotch tension, adjust the tension on the bobbin as to very common single drive spinning wheels, which is what I've got. A single drive spinning wheel configuration. The flyer is driven and spun by the drive band, acting like a double drive band like you find in older wheels, acting like a brake on the bobbin. So it just slows down the speed of your wheel and your flyer and everything else, and it helps you find a nice steady motion for spinning your yarn consistently in the same weight. Now an Irish tension is referred to as a bobbin lead, meaning the bobbin turns faster than the flyer as the yarn winds on. The drive band wraps around the wheel and bobbin as a built-in whirl, and the brake band, often made of leather, fits over the flyer's orifice with a small knob attached. So I've seen it on some wheels. So say this is the front. Say this is the front of one of these wheels with an Irish tension, and say there was a gap in the middle where my flyer sat. There would be a piece of leather over the top of there, and it would have a little wooden knob that you could actually tension that with, and that would help slow down the actual shaft of the bobbin when you're spinning on there, and act exactly the same as a Scotch tension. And the minor tension adjustments: tightening increases the pull and loosening reduces the pull from the hand to the orifice. Okay, so that's more or less the wheel covered. There's not much else I can go on that without having to actually get started on the spinning and getting you going, okay? But I will say, buy yourself a small bottle. B&M Bargains in the UK, one of the places I've definitely seen it, is about £2.50 for a bottle, a little black and white bottle with a red nozzle on the top of it, and it's sewing machine oil. You can use it for all sorts. I think it's a 2-stroke oil, so it's really, really fine, very, very light. And even on my Prelude, which has got leather sections here, give it a good soaking on the inside and on the shaft bar on your flyer. Put oil on that, just a dribble. You don't need a lot of it, you don't need to saturate it, but on any moving parts on your wheel you want to put on your sewing machine oil, okay? I've got moving parts on this one here, so I put it on the shaft of the wheel there, just behind the back whirl where my drive band goes, and the moving parts on the footman as well. Anything that's got metal, even if it's got washers in there, those are the bits you want to get into. The screw bits in the back of my treadle, you'll find that there's like piano hinges. Give that a little bit of oil in there as well. In the back bit, I've got a metal bar that goes through here that holds my wheel into place on these feet, on these arms. And then you've got the bending arm that goes down into an L shape on the back that holds onto my footman. And I always oil in those pieces as well. So give it a good oil, and it's just a bit of maintenance. Do it every couple of months, or at least every couple of weeks if it's a brand new wheel. Every couple of months, just give your machine a little bit of maintenance, and it'll really help with the movement, and you won't hear squeaking or anything like that. I need to do mine. My oil's downstairs, so I need to do that at some point anyway. So some pieces, I wouldn't say essential bits of kit, but just things that'll help make your life a little bit easier once you've spun your bobbin. Okay, now this spinning wheel here, if you can see, I have actually got a Lazy Kate on this, okay, on my spinning wheel. But you can buy a Lazy Kate alternatively until you've got the money, because a Lazy Kate, my Kromsky one, is like an arch bridge, and I can stick the bobbins on bars in between, and I can apply 2 or 3 bobbins at the same time straight from that, okay? Alternatively, get yourself a shoebox. A shoebox, Joe. Yes, a shoebox. Get yourself a shoebox and get yourself some doweling lengths. I would probably say go for something that's about 3mm dimension, right? So a really thin doweling. Put holes, 2 holes, front and back of your box. Okay, make sure it's wide enough to fit your bobbin inside, and then you can fit 2 in there, and you can ply them off at the same time. Loads of people do it. Really easy, really simple. You're like, oh my god, why didn't I think of that before? Sort of moment, right? Just go and do it. Definitely worth it. The shoebox damage, regardless of whether you want to keep a pair of posh shoes tidy or whatever. Use an old shoebox. Really works. Plastic tub, an ice cream tub, if you've got one that's quite large and you can fit 2 bobbins in there, even better. Just a couple of dowelings is all you need. Okay, you can buy them for a couple of quid at your local DIY shop. Right, so a niddy noddy. So generally a niddy noddy is a device to make a skein of yarn, or a hank as we would used to call it in the UK, having ends perpendicular to one another. A niddy noddy is often measures 18 inches long. Mine measures 2 yards, and the way that I calculate that is count one side. Okay, I get 2 yards off mine, and I literally just count each strand and I times it by 2. Okay, and that gives me the full length of what this skein of art yarn is. Okay, so a niddy noddy, the reason it got the name is because of its movement, its motion. When you're winding, you're doing this. It comes like that. You can get smaller ones. This is a Kromsky one that I got from Wing and Will when I bought all my kit the first time round, all my bits and pieces. It doesn't come apart, but that's the way that you have it when you're going to actually wind off your yarn. So I like to wind my yarn straight off my bobbin, so I can count and measure it, and then if I want to put it into a ball or a cake, then I do it from there. So I literally just pin that section down with my hand, and I start over here, and see that nodding motion. That's it. So you can get some that are smaller and they will measure you out exactly a yard a wrap. So a wrap is a wrap around the niddy noddy. Mine is larger. I get 2 yards off every wrap around my niddy noddy. Hence I just count 1 string and I times it by 2, because it takes, I would say, 1 yard from there, from that point to that point, but over this section here, and then that's all there is to it. Now you can make your own. You can, if you do a Google search for make or DIY niddy noddy, you will find plans on there to go down the I mean, they're not overly expensive, to be fair. You can buy them. I'm planning on designing my own niddy noddy in 3D printed, but a smaller version. You can go to Maria, my friend Maria at Hairy Dog Crafts, and buy one of her 3D printed ones, and she does the extensions as well to make them larger. The only bad point about the 3D printed niddy noddies is I like to steam set my wool. So I've got a little steamer. I'll show you in a minute, because for me that's a brilliant little bit of kit. It's just something I've accumulated. It's not what I had to start with. I used to wash all my yarns. Sometimes I do, but in the winter time, you're never going to get anything dry in the winter. So, and then I thwack it and everything else. But we'll go through all that as time goes on, when the better weather comes in. But I like to steam set all my yarns. And you can't steam set your yarn on a plastic printed niddy noddy. It's ideal if you're just taking it off to measure it, and then you're going to go and wash it and set it and everything else and dry it. But you can't use your steamer, you can't put it over heat. So a wooden one is best for that. Okay, so there we go. But yes, go online, go into Google, or even do a search on YouTube for make my own niddy noddy, and you will find plans and directions on how to make one out of PVC tubing. It'll cost you maybe 10-12 quid, and you can make your own, and you can make it adjustable to your own length, as long as you get at least 1 yard or capabilities to measure 2 yards per niddy noddy movement. Okay, that's all you need. Right, so once you've measured it, and you've done your skein, you've got your hank of wool or your skein of wool, sometimes you want to you want to wash it. A lot of us are a bit naughty. We just take it straight from the bobbin after it's rested on there for a day or so, and then wind it straight up so we can use it straight away. So I've had this for donkey's years, and it's a cake winder. Okay, the first one I ever bought, I got out of a charity shop for £8. It broke on me. This one I got off of Amazon, and it probably cost me, I think, about £11.50. Roughly the range around. You can get wooden ones, and I do have a wooden one, but it's a flipping nightmare. It's really, really heavy, but whenever I use it, it still moves all over the place, even with the clamps on it. So I do have a very expensive wooden one over there. I'll go and get it. Hold on a second and I'll show you. Alternatively, you can buy one like this. Excuse the dust. I've not wound any wool up for a while. I've been too busy. I've been far too busy. But it's the exact same principle as this. It's just a lot heavier. It moves like that. Personally, now that I've got it, I prefer this. But it's a nice piece of kit. It does work when it wants to behave itself. It does have a hole in the back so you can attach the clamp to it. It's from a company on Etsy. I'll find the name for you if you want it. But yeah, so I got that, and I think it cost me about 60 something quid, and it's made of cherry wood. It's handcrafted, handmade, made of cherry wood. One of these days me and it will find its agreement and a pace that we like to work at, but for the moment it's stuck up on the side because I've been busy doing my room. So yeah, alternative to a niddy noddy, a Swift. Okay, so you have this, and this one you can set to different lengths of winding your skein from your bobbin or from a ball, so you can have an accurate weight. I think this one's set, it's a little digital one. It's got a digital counter here. There's a magnet in the back of one of these arms, and every time it goes around it counts. And I think it's set to meters, but you can adjust these arms to any length that you want within reason for making a skein of yarn, whether it's a mini one or a larger one. It's a hand crank. It's just spin around. This was a bit of an expensive kit, but it's something I wanted for ages. I actually saved up for this. Otherwise, you've got it looks like an umbrella. It's a Swift umbrella. You can buy them from Amazon and other places as well. Amazon's cheaper for definite, but those other suppliers that I was on about earlier on, they do Swifts on there. They can range anywhere between £18 from £19 from Amazon. I think I paid about 20 quid for mine years ago, made of bamboo. Wasn't the best one in the world, and there was little nicks in the news that used to drive me potty with it, but we worked fine for years, and I managed to skein up wools from combs, no problem at all. I would go for the £20 to start off with. I think there's Knit Picks do a Swift as well, and it looks like an umbrella, so you can hook it onto your table and it will spin around and round and round and round with a little, sometimes they have a little handle on the top of it to move it. I generally used to just flick mine to get it going, and I used to use that with this. So yeah, so those are the bits of kit that are really, really handy. If you want to start recording your yarn gauge, then a whip per inch, I don't know if you can see that on the backs of that. So that's a 2-inch guide at the top. So literally, if you were to wrap your yarn, let me see if I've got anything here. There we go. You want to wrap your yarn around 1 inch to get a rough guide as to the thickness or the weight of your yarn. You don't need to do it massively tight, because then you're not going to be getting a true calibration of what it is. So you just wind it and wind it and wind it around, and this is handy for people that are doing knitting or weaving, where you need a rough guide to how much yarn you're going to need per inch for doing projects. I think I could have probably got a bit more on there. One over there we've got, so we'd say I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and I could probably have had another one on there to make it 12 for an inch or thereabouts. And then on there, so I've got 12 strands of yarn per inch of fibre, and then I would, just to calibrate how the thickness of the yarn, if I was wanting a DK weight or if I was wanting a sports weight yarn, it has these measurements on there. So you've got bulky, worsted, DK, sports, fingering and lace weight, and this would sit quite happily in a DK as a, I mean, if you go along your yarn and do it 3 or 4 times to get an average, and it's coming out as a DK practically every time. There we go, and that's it. See, consistently DK weight on that yarn. So yeah, those are the best bits of kit that you want to get. You can get those whips per inch markers on any, more or less any type of wool shops. Really easy to get. I am adding these to my website with a couple other little bits and pieces. At the end of the month, I'm just printing off a load. It takes 10 hours to just print this one thing off, so that's why it's taking a little bit longer than I'd normally do for putting my listings on. It takes ages to do anything. So there we go. What else have we got? So we've got the Niddy Noddy wraps per inch, the traditional way to measure the thickness of yarn. It allows you to decide if the yarn you have is suitable for a pattern. Traditionally, just wrap a yarn around an inch gap to count how many strands that you'll have in the gaps. Even a ruler will work if you haven't got anything else at home. Grist. This is where things start getting technical and way over my head. Okay, the grist is the density of a yarn. Concept factors in both the circumference and the weight in length of a yarn. Spinners and weavers talk about grist or YPP, yards per round. Charts online, more details if you want to go a little bit geeky. So it literally means, I think it's about the twist going through the yarn and that sort of thing. It's way over my head. I'm not totally geeky. You guys that know me know that I would rather be competent in what I do than go old bonkers Tefal head, because it's just not me at all. But I will look into the information about it and see if I could get a bit more on how to actually explain it if you want to go down the geeky route. On your heads be it. Right, so I think that's about it really. Bit of a long video. Next time I do this part 2 back to basics video, I think I will get the drop spindles out and we will get going on a drop spindle, because that's how I started first, and then the one after that we'll get started on a spinning wheel. Okay, how do you think of that? If you have any questions or if there's any bits of information that I may have missed out, let me know in the comments below. This is aimed at, well, it's aimed for everybody, in case you just want to brush up on anything or wasn't sure, or you just want to sit and listen to me waffle away. Thank you very much. But this is just get you going. I mean, I'm planning on doing videos to do with these back to basics of how to prepare your single ply, how to do a ply, how to do 3-ply, 4-ply, do chunky yarns, and then experiment a little bit more on the spinning, on the drop spindles, and just sort of play around. And then we'll go into blending a little bit and getting you going on those in between as well, because you might have a blending board. Not many of you just starting out at the moment have got a drum carder, very much doubtful. So I think I'd do a couple of rollags and get spinning those, and then we'll use those for experiments and then ply them and ply them again and ply them again to make 4-ply, and we'll go down that route. If there's any other topics that you'd like me to touch on as back to basics, whether it's weaving or something like that, give me a shout, drop me a message, drop me an email, contact me via my website. I'm easy to get hold of. And this idea was from a couple of people that have reached out to me, especially a lovely lady from last week who says, I have no idea where to start. So you've all got her to blame, everybody. So anyway, I better be off. Take care of yourselves. Be live chat next Wednesday, and then I will film the next video during the week next week for uploading the week after. I won't be doing my videos as often. It'll probably work out that I'll do a chat one week and a video one week and a chat one week and a video the following week, just to break it down a little bit so it's not so much for me. There's bits and pieces I've got to do, and I've got to start planning for my Easter bundle sets. Yes, so I've got to get them sorted, and I've got to start planning for those. So yeah, so I hope you like this video. Hit the thumbs up for a like. It really, really does help me. I don't get paid for any of those videos on this channel. I don't have enough subscribers to earn anything, but what it does by liking and subscribing to my page is help other people in the algorithm find me who might need my help, or the way that I explain things might sink in a little bit better, which is what I've been told. So thank you very much for your support. I really, really do appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy at least the next 6 months worth of back to basic videos. So take care of yourselves. If you can't be good, stay out of trouble.